welcome, Ashay. It's been a while. All that jet setting.
Has been.
Yeah, it's been a long while, actually. To appease the people, and because I don't know myself, why don't you tell me about your life in Goa, and then we'll take it from there into Tasmania.
Well, this is before coming to Australia.
Yeah.
Look, it was a great, wonderful life. Coming from a background which was all around joint families, really intense summer vacations with 25, 30 cousins at grandparents' house, the mangoes, the farms, and my amazing grandfather, who was always a mentor since the age of 5. And like all of us, they have taught us a number of things that are really wisdoms that we now apply in our life. So I had a great childhood. Sports was always one of the things that the family was really big on, and we really enjoyed that. The farms, the space, the beaches, the seafood, etc. Yeah.
Hey, so you went to high school there,
Yes.
right? And
I
at some point going to uni, you decided Australia would be the place to go.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So mad passion for cricket, and when you take a look back in the late 80s, when the world was coming to grips with Steve Waugh,
Yep.
just after Alan Border's captaincy, and you started to think about all the things Australia was doing in terms of the fast pitches, the aggression, the kind of new era into cricket. It was, for us, it was heaven, in terms of if there was any land in the world you would choose as your next progression path for your passion, that would be Australia. Yeah.
Cool. So what were you, a bowler or a batter?
I was an off spinner at trade, and I have to say, when I arrived in Tasmania, off spin or any sort of spin wasn't the flavor of the month.
Huh.
We were all about fast bowling. You had to be a good batter and get a few runs. Until Shane Warne came on the scene and changed the complete landscape with bowling. But that was a bit late in my career in terms of trying to make a life out of cricket. But I enjoyed the sport. It's what brings discipline into a number of things that I've learned to do in my life. And it was a great opportunity to be with some of the key players, both from India as well as Australia, and spend some quality time with them.
So, what university did you go to, or what college did you go to?
University of Tasmania, civil engineering, with a background in soil mechanics. And Sandy, you look back and you wonder.
Yeah, how'd you get here? Yeah,
all those years of sheer toil.
Yeah.
And life's just a perspective from that point on.
Yeah. So you put all your effort into university, get your degree, and then where did you go from there?
It was interesting. I'd like to just highlight also that engineering wasn't really my passion or my forte. I still remember there were 3 or 4 of us, and we ended up doing that because filling out the forms and getting in line was easier than getting into arts or accounting on that open day. My passion is really accounting and maths, and engineering was for me quite a bit of a toil. I did graduate, and then commenced working in that industry, in the soils laboratory at Hazel Brothers, and then subsequently, which is a construction company in Tasmania, and subsequently in their project management office and construction site. And that's how I kind of fell into this this infrastructure space after finishing engineering.
Okay. So you were there for how long?
Hazel Brothers was a two-year stint for me, but it was worth about 10 years in terms of real life experience. The stuff that we don't get taught in the classroom.
Yeah.
About not just about the design of the roads or the bridges or the buildings. It was more around the practicality and the pragmatism that is required in the field
Yep.
to turn a concept into reality,
Mm.
and often find innovative ways of construction. That experience I can never forget. It's just really hard to get that in a closed office environment.
Oh well, yeah, it's nearly impossible. I know. When I left uni, I was the same. I ended up with a consulting firm and John Sproggies, and then out to the sticks to learn the trade. I spent a good 5-6 years in construction as
Yeah,
well. And that was the best learning you could have, no doubt about it. I'd recommend it to anyone, personally,
yeah,
because it gives you that ability to hone in, make decisions, and be firm about what you're doing, rather
yeah.
than go back to the design office, get approvals, come back again. Although you're not supposed to do
Yeah.
some things like that, but that's what you do when you're in the field, in reality.
And I'd just like to point out to any young engineer that is listening or a young accountant that is listening is the importance of actually working with those people in the field and the knowledge that they have in terms of how to construct a pavement, how to do the cut and fill. And I do recall a number of times where I would spend hours trying to do a design in terms of the construction activity. And the supervisor who had never been to uni would be able to come up with a pretty close answer simply by doing some rule of thumb
Yeah,
analysis. And that just absolutely astounded me as to how much experience counts.
yeah,
So to every young engineer, if you get the time to get a really good supervisor in the field, you'll be really so thankful in your later years
mm,
for that wisdom.
exactly. There's a lot to pick up. What I want to do, see, why I'm really doing this is I really want to emphasize to people coming out from uni that there is a choice in engineering. You can achieve things in engineering. It's not like you get a lawyer's degree and suddenly you're filthy rich. There is that there's hard work as well. So you got to be prepared to do that hard work and discipline.
Yeah,
But they can achieve what they want to achieve. And talking to like Roger, yourself, the next person will be Ruth Walsgrove. Got her lined up for the next meeting.
mhm.
You've all achieved something. Hell, even I've achieved something.
You have too, SND. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You were the pioneer of the International Infrastructure Management Manual, and that's left behind a legacy for all of us
yeah. It- it-
and the young practitioners. Yeah,
yeah, so there's a lot of things, and so I want to emphasise that, and in our discussions, we look at that as well and see, well, if you're young and you're concerned about engineering, where you're going, you've got plenty of time, even though it does seem like time flies.
yeah.
Okay, so you're at Hazel Brothers. You were there for how long?
For a couple of years, and
Yep.
then I moved on to what was back then called Works Tasmania, which was the provider arm of the Department of Transport,
Right.
and got involved in not the construction side but the maintenance side of things after the asset has been built, if you like.
Yeah.
What practices do you put in place to keep sure it's maintained at a good level? So that was terrific experience as well. And I'd really like to point out, the key people in my journey: Jeffrey Hazel, there was David Mounter, Grant Atherton, and David Mounter at Works Tasmania was a massive tailwind and a backer of everything we young engineers wanted to do. So
Okay. So you're in Department of Tassie or Works Tassie. You then went. You spent how many years there?
so I was there only for close to a bit under 2 years before I decided to set up my own consulting company. And that came about through absolute freak destiny. You look at when you write a book, it looks like a series of steps that you followed through, but it wasn't any of that. The construction experience at Hazel Brothers was all about building infrastructure. The engineering education was all about designing infrastructure. The Hazel Brothers experience was all about putting that design experience into practice and fruition. It was Works Tasmania that was more about the life cycle of the asset, not just the day-to-day maintenance, but we had to come to grips with the fact that the Tasmanian government was looking at outsourcing the maintenance contract on a 20-year basis to the private industry. And that was kind of at that point in time, a world first. I'm talking 1994.
Yeah, that was a couple of years before we did it in Victoria.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for us, that was the dawn of the realization that you don't just build and forget about the asset, but you've got to look at the 20, 25, 50 year plus. And we had to work out methodologies and ways of demonstrating back to the government, although we were part of government, we had to demonstrate back to the government that as a contractor, we were able to provide them with assurance that we had the logics and the methodologies to keep the Tasmanian road infrastructure at a certain level for a certain sum of money. And when you just piece all that together, to me, that was the penny drop moment to say, there is a concept here called strategic planning. The concept is doable if organizations have a level of discipline and data and methodologies to do it. And when I looked around, I thought, with so many local governments also invested in this long-term infrastructure, there must be an avenue to spend the ratepayers' money better. And so in 1998, 99, I, along with my wife, we started our consulting business in strategic asset management. So Works Tasmania was about a couple of years, and after it got sold by the government, it gave me the perfect opportunity to start thinking what next. And we set up our own consulting business back then, and eventually moved to Melbourne because we were servicing most of our clients in Victoria from Tasmania, which was getting a little bit difficult.
Yeah, and now it's not a problem.
Now it's
Enjoyed this video? Press the like button and subscribe. If you'd like to see more, please click on the Patreon link below and sign up.